Hi everybody, my name is Jerry Shields, and today we are going to do a playthrough of the Island Springs Golf Resort, and I also am going to talk a little bit about course design and how to use the new 2K21 course designer, and a little bit of background about this golf course. I did a review of Rattlesnake Gulch, which was a fictional golf course that I had designed. This is a real golf course. It was built in between 1999 and 2000 on St. Joseph Island in northern Ontario, Canada, and it was a course that I personally built. I was the golf course superintendent during construction and after it was opened up for play, and so I know the course inside and out like the back of my hand. Now, some people that do tutorials on course design will tell you that your first golf course should be a um, a fictional one so you can get used to the game. This was my first time ever using the course designer. I came right into it and I knew the property from the time it was just sand to the time it was a full golf course. It's a beautiful golf course and it was a great learning opportunity for me, so I hope you enjoy it. Sadly, this golf course was closed down just a couple of years ago. It broke ground back in 2001 when it was opened. It was the first golf course with bent grass fairways in northern Ontario. It was maintained immaculately. My staff did a fantastic job, and the people that played it just loved it. The sad thing is, it only ever had the first 9 holes built. The back 9 were designed but never built. Today, we're actually going to play, probably publicly for the first time, the back 9 holes at Island Springs Golf Resort. Again, I was the superintendent here. Just a quick tour around the golf course. This is the maintenance shop. This is where I worked out of every day. I did spend a year working also out of the clubhouse. When we first built the golf course, this clubhouse up here was not here. Instead, there was a construction trailer, but since that time, it was built for course opening. A few other features around the golf course. The front 9 is pretty well what you can see here in front of you. High areas up by holes 2 and 3, comes back down, goes through kind of a pine plantation in the back corner of the golf course and comes back to the clubhouse. There is a pump house that ran the irrigation system. It is located right here on a interesting shaped pond. What's interesting about it is that the golf course architect Kevin Holmes had designed this hole to play up the peninsula of this pond and across and over to back into near the clubhouse location. All the details are on this golf course. This is where the carts were parked. The cart barn is located in those pine trees, parking lots, ponds even that were out of play, and then the back 9. As I said, this back 9, I was familiar with the property. We walked it. We even flagged it out with the architect and looked at different features, but it was cleared but never actually built. And to this day, it's starting to grow back into bush, typical of Northern Ontario. But for the first time today, we're actually going to play around on all 18 holes of the original design for Island Springs Golf Resort. So let's get right to it. From the clubhouse, you would come out. There was a putting green just past the clubhouse here. Also a driving range with some target greens and bunkers. Like I said, it was a beautiful golf course, and I was sad to leave it, and sad that it also eventually closed down. So we're going to play test this. I'm going to play this from the... Oops. Just one second here, it's giving me a hard time. I have so many trees planted in this that it keeps giving me an error for too many objects. You can see the object count is 100%, but I don't think it's going to stop me from playing the course. I'm going to play pin set number 1. All 4 pin sets are all equally distributed between easy, hard, and medium pins. I'm going to do wind speeds, if we get past this error, that are going to be high. The winds in this part of Canada are usually out of the west and northwest, so let's play it out of the... Just 1 second here. It's not going to let me change the wind direction. We'll play it out of the north then. So I do have a pro version of this course that has audience, grandstands, and another set of decks that are farther back. I always thought this course was... it could have been a course that pros could have played a tournament on, so I wanted to also create that. So there's 2 versions on 2K21. There's the Island Springs Golf Resort, and there's the Island Springs Pro version that has even more length to it. So let's get down to play the course. Let's hope that having too many objects isn't going to interfere with things. And here we are on the first tee. There I am. So first tee, we take a look down the fairway and we can see there is a bunker. For the long hitters, it's only 220 yards out. It's not in play. The bunker that's farther out here, 275, is in play for a driver, so we have to be careful and play down up over this bunker and up into a landing area just before the green. That is a little bit of a dogleg to the right. Longer grass, fescue in and around the pine trees on the right side and on the left side. And you can see most of this golf course you're going to find is going to be bush, and a very heavy bush, that if your ball ends up in this area of trees lining all the fairways, you are going to be in trouble. There are a few areas where there's pine straw on the side of the hole. So let's get down to playing this hole. I'm going to pull the driver out. I've played this course obviously many times while working here, and I've never hit a driver 275 off any hole, but the game is going to allow me to do that today. And up into landing. For the big hitters, you want to be careful you don't go too far, because you will actually roll this past and down towards that cart path. We got a little 44-yard shot here. I am going to bring out, I'm going to see if I can splash this in here with a 9-iron. We've got winds just a little bit behind us, and I'm going to shape the shot a little bit and try to tuck it in there real close. A relatively flat green and a relatively small green. It does, as you can see, roll away behind the green for shots like this that are hit a little bit long. I am going to chip a lob wedge up onto this green. Often there's a lot of deer around this hole. I think when I built over in the distance behind one of the trees, there's a deer over there. You might just barely see. Just to the right of the flag there in that fescue, there's a deer. And I'm going to chip this up. I'm just going to shape this. I'm going to have to really, I hope that's not too much, but we're going to give it a try. No, we didn't quite get it there. We're now playing for our par. This is a par 4, and we are in par. Moving on to hole number 2. This hole was actually built with 2 different tee decks. We are playing from the right side of the decks. There is a set that is farther over on the left side. We may be able to see them here when we look back over the pond. So, okay, there's the pond, and there are some decks there from this view on the right side, and then we're playing from the decks that are on the what looks like from the left side here. We play this hole out to a bit of a plateau with a bunker on the right. You can see this hole has a very steep drop down into a valley, and it comes back up 100 feet to the green site with some very intimidating bunkers. When you're doing designing of courses, you're going to hear some people give tutorials saying that, don't make your bunkers unrealistically deep. In the real world, at this golf course, there were some terrifying bunkers that, prove that the bunkers at each course are individual to that course, and don't ever feel you have to design inside a box. So I'm going to throw the ball out here just to this side of the ravine. Looks like I hooked that a little bit, and that should give me a shot over the ravine up to the green. Now we're going up 83 feet, so we have to give more club than what the game thinks that we need. Being a par 5, we should be able to reach this in 2. I'm going to give it all 3. I'm going to give it 3 wood. We are going up almost 100 feet. I know the computer says that's going to be way long, but I think the elevation is going to make up for it. We're going to find out. You don't want to be short, because if you're short in this hole, you could hit the fairway and then roll back down into that ravine, believe it or not. So here we are at a lob wedge chipping. I think that might not be a bad default club there. So we will chip this up onto the green. And that should give us a nice little 5-footer for birdie. There we go. So that's hole number 2. Hole number 2 was a nightmare to grow in. We had many washouts, as you can imagine, with that steep hill, and we spent years having to oversee parts of that steep slope. At times when the greens were fast, that putts off the front of that green on number 2 would actually roll back down, and you'd have to go back and get a wedge to get back up on the green. So it was a very difficult hole, and I think the game plays it that way as well. This hole, par 3, our first par 3 on the front 9, going down 67 feet. So the default club here is a 4-iron from the blue decks. I do believe that we're going to need a lot less club. We do have a bit of wind in our face, so Let's try a 6-iron, and we'll see if that's going to be a play. I'm going to put a little bit of backspin just in case we're long. We're going to be right. And we're not quite in the bunker, so that is not too bad. Gap wedge chip going into the hill. Give it one more club. We got a bit of a roll from right to left. Again, a relatively flat green once you get up and on past the bit of a slope that's at the front. The bunkers, as you can see, are fairly distant from the green on the left and right, and a little closer on the back side of this hole. And we didn't quite get up there. And as you can see, relatively flat putt for my par. We missed it right. So we're going to take a bogey on this, and partially that's because we missed the green. And there's a 4 on number 3. Number 4 hole plays out through this chute of trees, down onto this skinny section of fairway, and then the green is tucked on the left side of a pond. The pin today is front left, so we're not going to have to clear the pond. Otherwise, playing as far left as possible is good. With the wind in our face, we're not going to clear this big bunker. We're likely only going to get 260, 270 out of our drive. So we're going to be back in here when the ball lands. We don't want to be in that bunker. And with the pond out of play, it doesn't matter if we're too far right. So I'm going to throw it out here, dead center of the fairway, and we're still going to have a good angle to this pin. We even drew that a little bit. We're going to get a little bit of a run. And playing up to this green, there is a tier to the center of this green. There's a high portion at the back, and then low on the front side of the green. It is possible with a pin that's tucked on the right side behind the pond to land this up on the front center of this green, and it'll kick off towards the right side. So keep that in mind if that's where the pin is. Today we're not dealing with that. We've got a wind in our face. The pin is a little bit tricky. It's kind of at the edge where that tier tapers off to just a slope. We've got pretty strong slope. We don't want to be long, we'll roll off on the back left. We don't want to be short, we'll come back on the fringe. We do have a tough shot here. So we're going to go 9-iron. I'm going to put a lot of spin on this ball and throw it up higher than what it normally goes. And I'm really hoping we don't hit this short. Let me try this. And we pulled it left into the bunker. Not quite. We have a very tricky shot, and this is a very realistic view of how this hole would have looked, looking from that bunker over the green, pond, and over to the clubhouse in the distance. We have a pitch shot. This is a terribly tricky shot now. I believe that we likely want to try a different shot. We're going to try to splash this up the hill a little bit and let it hopefully roll down towards that pin. Probably as good as we could do from that location. We got a pretty sharp slope here for our par putt. We're going to go out at least a foot outside that hole. Hopefully we can drop this down and in for our par, as we did. Hole number 5, the hole most likely to see deer on Island Springs. If we go out here and take a look, we actually have some deer crossing the fairway today. And driver shot, a little bit of a dog leg right. You only have 230 yards to clear the bunkers. This part of the golf course, we get into a lot of rocky terrain. There actually is a decent amount of rock up in the rough. Doesn't show up so well in the game, but that would be something to be facing. Got a bit of a wind right to left. So we're going to play this right side and let the wind push it towards those deer. Whoa, that's not where we want to be. We almost hit a deer. Okay, now we are out in the heavy rough, and pin is left side. This green, again, relatively flat. There is some slope on the front, almost a bit of a false front. Bunker is totally surrounding. This green is a little bit elevated. We're going up 32 feet, and we are playing it at heavy rough, so we're going to give it some extra club here. In fact, I'm going to give it a decent amount of extra club. Let the wind pull it back, and I think we should be okay as long as that deer that's right behind me doesn't interfere. But we're short. Up on the approach, you can see the approach does rise up to the screen. We're going to play a pitch shot here. We have a little bit of probably too much distance on pitching this, so I'm going to throw some decent backspin on this, and I'm going to try to really just stop this really good right up by the green. There we go. Too much club. One of the flaws in the game is if you don't watch carefully, it'll weight your club. So I didn't notice it wasn't at 100%. See at the bottom where it says 60%, just below the ball. You always want to make sure you get that to 100% to get a real reflection of how far it's going to go. So we are going to lob this. I think a chip shot's probably the best shot from here. And I think even a sandwich might be better for distance. So we are now putting for a bogey because of that wrong club choice. And there we are in for a 5. So coming to number 6, we play out down into a plantation of pine on the left side with some pine straw. We have a couple bunkers out at 250 and 265. With the wind in our face, they're a little bit in play if we do hit this left or right, like we did in the last hole. There is a bit of a seasonal stream that runs through a break in the fairway there with a pond on the right side. We can deal with that when we get up there. Pin is front left, so much like number 4, will not be in play with the pond. And in fact, I think to get as much of the green as possible, might want to be left side of this fairway. So I'm going to try to throw it up here and hopefully not be cutting it too far tight. You may want to notice off the trees, there are a lot of big maple trees overhanging this tee in the real world. And I am a little fearful that we may catch one of those trees with this shot. I'm going to actually play this. It's interesting. This game has the option of taking some loft out of it. I'm going to see if I can knock a driver down the fairway, and I just want to make sure I'm not going to catch that rough. See if I can miss those trees. I think that worked. I think we went under that branch. Now it did compromise our distance a lot. Our driver went from 275 to 217. We've now got a 210-yard shot roughly up towards the green. And we are going with a 5-wood according to the computer. I'm going to give it extra club. We do have a wind in our face. I don't want to tempt things with the pond. This green has a tier through the center of it with a higher portion at the back and a lower portion in at the front. And again, wow, nasty little draw. That's going to give us a tricky little pitch shot here, a chip. I think we're good. You can see how steep that tier is, and you definitely don't want to be in the wrong part of that tier. I'm going to play this a little bit up here. Let's see if we can roll that up close. A little bit short, but I think with this part of the green being relatively flat, we've got a good shot at getting our par, as we did. So playing hole number 7, we see that we have a kind of a clover-shaped green. This par 3 has a few rolls in the greens. We can see some slopes in the center that roll right to left. Also farther off to the left side, back side of the green, there's some slope, and a very pronounced false front on this green as well. So you want to be careful. You're not going to hit the front of this green and roll up. If you hit the front, you may roll back onto the approach. So I am going to play this likely with a 4-iron. The wind is going to throw me left to right. I've been drawing the ball a lot today though. And I will also throw this up in the air a little higher and try to get some backspin even though it's a 4-iron, but it may help me with my distance because I had a little too much club. And again, I drew the ball even into that wind. Distance wasn't too bad. And our greens in regulation are going to be hurting today for sure. So I'm going to see if we can chip this. Actually, the new splash shot might work well for this. It's the new type of shot that the game has over the 2019 version. I'm going to splash this up there and see if it'll trickle up. I don't want to go off the front of the green. It's one thing you don't want to do here. Look at that. It sucked it back down that hill a little bit. So now we've got a tricky uphill putt. We got 34 feet curving left to right. And I really hope that I can put this in for my par. Par 3s are killing me today. Too much. And we'll get a bit of a tap in here for our bogey. Hole number 8 is a par 5. A little bit tricky. If you go with a full driver, there is a stream that runs across this fairway. In real world, it was a bit of a swampy mess. Sometimes it was a stream, sometimes it was pretty dry. For this version of the game, I did put water in there. You could try to drive it and put it out to this tip of this peninsula here and then go for the green in 2. It is reachable in 2, but you don't have to go that far. At 510 yards, that if we can get 230, 40 yards out of our 3-wood, we only need to get it out there 270. So I think I'm going to, with the wind behind me today, I'm going to lay up and let this run, and hopefully we can get a nice shot into the green. You can see with the driver, if you had a wind behind me like we do, we may be able to get across part of the stream, but at this point we may get forward and we may get up into this kind of a waste bunker on the right side. I'm not sure we want to have that shot. And if the wind was stronger, I might even go for it a little bit more and try to hit that fairway, but at 11 miles an hour, I don't think it's going to be enough of a wind to get us across that stream. Okay, so that's going to get us up there. 227 with a 3-wood is just going to be short, but we do have a wind behind us, so there's a chance we could put this in tight if we can get a nice bounce here. I don't want to. There is a slope going up to the front of this green, bunkers surrounding us, so there's a bit of a tight approach coming in here. I'm tempted to try to hit a little bit of that rough and catch it to slow the ball down and then trickle up with the pin being in front of the green. I wish the pin was farther back, but we may be long if we don't catch a bit of that rough. So let's see if we can play a little precision golf here. And we drew it a little bit, so that's not going to... Oh, we did catch the rough. It was a little hot coming in there, but it did end up in not a bad spot. This green is really flat. There's very little slope to it. If I can choose the right club, I can roll this up really close. And this is our putt for birdie. It's nice when you've got a tap in for birdie there. And we are now on hole number 9. Very interesting par 4. It plays only 325 yards, so it may seem to some folks like it is reachable. With the driver, you're going to bring that pond into play. There's another pond on the left side, kind of a swamp, and a relatively thin fairway to be shooting at. There's also the hazard of some pine trees that you can see here on the right side that interfere with the shot. And a lot of balls will end up in this area here that'll catch the pine trees and drop down into the rough. So again, then you're having to clear the pond. Today I think the safest shot is a 3-wood would put us up in here. Still having to clear the pond. If we could hit the driver up into here, we've got a beautiful shot into that pin with it and takes the pond into play. So I think in this case, I am going to try the driver. I'm going to let the wind push it left to right. I'm going to shoot for the left edge and really hope that my draw doesn't come into play here. Turning, drop down, stop. Okay, so we rolled through a little bit. Would have been nice to put a little bit of a push to that to the right side, but now we're playing for the light rough. We don't have to go over the pond, which was nice to take that out of play. And here we are with a little bit of a pitch shot. Let's see what the splash shots are looking like here. I think that's a nice shot there. If we can splash this up and roll it up a little bit to the pin, and even take some spin off it, the ball's going to want to go a little bit to the left. Whoa. There is a tier in the middle of this green that goes from the back to the front, so you want to make sure you're on the proper tier. Pins at the back are really tough because now you're clearing the pond and you have to get up on that top tier. We're down in the lower tier right now with a 12-footer for birdie, a little bit downhill. Get in there for birdie. There we go, that's 2 birdies in a row. That is the front 9. So those 9 holes were played by hundreds of thousands of people over the years that the golf course was open. This back 9, nobody has ever actually played in the real world. We're going to play it today for the first time for everybody to see. And what I want to do is bring your attention to this beautiful little par 3. It actually plays over the pump house is where I position the tee decks for the blue and the white decks. The red decks are a little farther up for the ladies. And we are looking at a recommended 4-iron is what the game is suggesting. Now I think that wind in our face, 4-iron might not be a bad shot today. It's going to move a little left to right. I'm pretty confident I can get there. We got a lot of bunkers surrounding this green. The green is quite a bit away from the water. If you don't hit the green, odds are you're going to be in the bunker or the rough. The water, even though it looks intimidating, is a little bit out of play on this hole. That's how you play this hole. Obviously a pin tucked on the left side of the screen would be a little tougher, but instead we've got a little 9-footer for 3 birdies in a row. There it is. We're on fire. So that's how hole number 10 would have looked if it would have been built as designed. Hole number 11 is a par 4, 415 yards. A big bunker on the left side, but there's a stream on the right side, and the terrain here all flows left to right. So you do not want to be bouncing a ball on the right side of this fairway with the wind going left to right. Odds are you will be in that stream. So I am going to aim the ball for the left side of this bunker with my driver. And I am going to get up. Be in that bunker. A little too close. The draw pulled me in, and the wind didn't have as much of an effect as I figured it would. We've got a bit of a tight bunker shot here with a pitching wedge. We will have the wind at our back. I think that's not a bad club. You do not want to be right side. You can see how close that green is to that bit of a pond there that's in that stream. There's also a stream in behind this green, bunker left. If you're going to miss, you want to miss left, either that bunker or the rough. You might get trickled down on the green. There are a few tiers as well on this green, as you can see, sloping from roughly left to right. So I am going to shoot for left side of the green, out of this bunker, and I do not want to be in the pond on the right side. Anything but right. Whoa, that was almost too short and too right. We are now going to pitch the ball according to the game it wants me to. Now I'm going to try the splash shot again. Like I said, I've been working with this. I've had a tough time figuring out the backspin, but I think this is a good application for it. Whoa. Stay. That's kind of an odd way that kicked out of the rough. Now we're still dealing with a pitch shot here. Only 6 yards. This is a really difficult distance I find in the game that you need to definitely adjust your shot, give it more loft, draw it back a little bit. And took too much off it. So now we are putting for a bogey. The bunker did penalize me a decent amount, and we saved ourselves with a bogey. You saw the maintenance shop in the background there. That road, the road coming into the golf course does play up behind that green. This is the 12th hole. It is a interesting little hole that plays, there we go, over a pond, up onto the landing zone, and then it's a dog leg left. So this is a par 5. I think it's the longest par 5 on the golf course. You want to be clearing this pond, but you can see you're playing to a very skinny part of the golf course. Very brilliant design here by the architect Kevin Holmes in this dog leg. So, and the wind's blowing left to right. That's going to be a real challenge to even turn a ball. So I am going to try and put a ball up. I'm going to aim it for the left side. I'm hoping not to have trees in the way, so I do. So you can see I'm going to have to go to the right of that tall spruce tree. That does put me up there. This is a 3-shot par 5 either way, so I think that's a good shot. We're going to end up, the wind's going to push us a little to the right. But at the end of the day, the big deal is to clear that pond, stay on the fairway so we can then play up towards the green on the left side here. Green side is protected again by a small little pond in front. And we can see that wind is in our face. So we don't want to be left side of this fairway. We could end up in the drink. Instead, we're going to play it up over here. A lot of fescue on the right side. I am not wanting to risk that. And you can see that pond is right to left with that slope there. So my plan is to be as high as I can. If I'm in the rough, I'm probably not even going to be too sad about this. And my draw put me in the water. So now we're going to drop the ball. We're playing a 4. So luckily we didn't lose distance on that penalty. We just lost shot. And now we can tuck this in. We got wind behind our back, or sorry, wind in our face. We're going to throw a pitching wedge up there, and hopefully it's going to drop fairly close. Man, I got to straighten out that draw. And now we are playing a shot up with a chip shot. I think we need a little more club coming out of the rough. Whoa. That would have been for our par, so we're going to take a bogey. I don't think bogey's terrible if you're actually in the water, especially on a par 5. I'll take it, although it didn't play it the way I wanted to. Hole number 13 is playing back down the hill, and a pond on the left side that from these decks is not reachable. If you're playing from the white or the reds, is possible to get into that water. Bunker right side. We're gonna, with our draw and the wind today, we're probably gonna move this right to left. So I'm gonna play it for left edge of the bunker and just watch it end up in the fairway here. Nice kick downhill. And we did get 355 yards because we did catch the backside of the mounting for that bunker. We're now playing into a green that is relatively flat, rather large. If we would have had a pin tucked left side, it would have been a real tough shot. Instead, we're playing to this back corner of the green. Wind behind us though, so that's going to make this a little trickier than it needs to be. I'm going to go back a club. I think the wind will probably kick us up onto the green. See how much of an effect the wind has. There we go. Another yard, that would have been really close. Relatively flat putt here for our birdie, and we need some birdies to make up for the putt, or for the bogey. Oh, it didn't quite curl in there. Tap in for our par. So hole number 14 is up next, playing uphill dog leg right, rather sharp dog leg to the right. What's interesting is you can see right in the middle of the fairway here is this tree. In the game, it's set up as a birch tree. In real life, this was actually an ironwood tree. When we walked the course with the architect, he saw this beautiful ironwood tree and where it was going to be the center of this fairway, and he said we had to keep this tree. So I've kept it in the game as well, and it does become a bit of an obstacle. Now, driver puts us up right past all those bunkers and in kind of this really skinny fairway. You've got a lot of bush on the left side and a lot of trees obstructing you also on the right side. A perfect shot, if you could stop it, would be somewhere out and about here. With the wind knocking it back, we're likely going to come in here, which might not be a bad thing because it's really tough to stick this. So we are going to try to put this out right there and hope the wind stops us. Our draw just is going to ruin the day, I think. That's it. Not bad. We'll take that. Definitely take that as a 100-yard shot in. We have a little bit of wind left to right, and I'm going to put a little bit of jazz on this ball. Let's do it again. Stopped it, and we're putting 23 feet for our par. Just missed it. So there we are. We had a par on number 14. 15 was going to be definitely one of the signature holes on this golf course. You play across this massive pond / swamp area that is on the north side of the golf course, and there are many options on how to play this hole. You can play the safe shot out here with about a 5 wood and lay it up on the start of this fairway. That's one option. Another option is to play it out into this area here and try to catch this fairway, maybe work a little left or right because your green is up in this area. And the hero shot, as we call it, would be to this little area here all the way across the pond. You're having to clear the water 250 yards, but there is a clearing through the trees and some fairway that then makes this a very short par 5. At 275, you would only have 200 yards into the green, but you do have to play over a bunker at the right side of the green. This shot back here is a little bit closer to the line you'd want to the green, but you're going to have more distance. So I'm going to go for the hero shot today, of course, and I do want to take the wind into account and my draw into account. So let's do a couple adjustments, right? Wow, did that ever turn? And that is exactly what you want to do to play this hole. You now only have 170 yards in. Watch out, back left of this green falls off into a swamp. There is a bunker also, and look in the distance there. You can see the roof of a building back in there. This pond used to have a fish hatchery before it was a golf course, and the fish hatchery started to fall into the pond, and as the water levels rose, the building became submerged till there was just a roof poking out. So that is very realistic to life, and a lot of the dead trees here and stumps you can see from trees that used to be above water that had died and rotted since the pond levels were higher. So we'll get back to playing the hole here. We are going to go in at 170 yards, wind's right to left. My draw is going to be right to left. I'm actually going to play this out to the rough. I'm going to put some backspin on it. I'm going to hope that I stick this on the green. Really close. That was almost dangerous. You wouldn't want to be any farther left because you may roll into that water. I'm going to putt this from just off the fringe of the green. And I think we might. That's too bad, because that was our eagle putt here on number 15. It does provide eagle opportunities, and if you play it a different way, it's a fairly easy birdie, and a par is doable even if you get yourself into trouble. And I have managed to par this hole even though I was within a dozen feet after my second shot. So that's golf for you right there. Here we are at number 16. We're in the back corner of the property again, and we are playing into the pines. We have some options here. We have a bunker on the left side, but you do have to clear some trees to get in there. And we also have pine straw and pines on the right side. So the bend is right where you're going to want to land the ball. Fortunately today the wind is in our face and turning a little bit to the left, so I think it's safe. We can probably throw this out towards the edge of the fairway, and this should come back a little bit to the left and be just short. That should give us a good angle into the green today. Bunkers left and right. The green really slopes off back left where that pin is, so that's a tough pin to go at today because you could end up in the rough pretty easy. Nice wide open flat green to aim at, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Is I'm going to aim out here more towards the center of the green and hope this comes in towards the left. And just like that, a little bit of right to left, we can see that green sloping off severely, and this is for our birdie. That's much better putting than we did on the 15th hole. So hole number 17 is a par 3 through the pine trees, coming up to a green that's angled right to left to the back, and it does have a little bit of some slope there, but a lot of the green is fairly flat. Comes towards you at the front of the green, and it works a little bit from right to left towards the center of the green, so it kind of funnels in towards the green. We have wind behind us today, so I'm going to play one less club than I need to. I'm also thinking I want to catch that rough. If I really want to have a great shot in here, catch the rough, slow down the ball, and trickle up towards that pin. It's a really tough pin to get at today. I'm going to give that a try. And if my draw comes into play, then I'm still good. Whoa. Too much club, but luckily that strategy of going for the rough actually slowed the ball down, and it trickled as expected off the mounds and back onto the green, just a little bit farther than expected. We'll take that at 21 feet for our birdie putt, and we'll throw it out there. See if we got the right angle on this. There we go. A well-crafted birdie. If you take into account the mounding and the slope of the greens, sometimes you can do some pretty interesting things. Hole number 18 can be terrifying if you do not know the anatomy of the hole. There are some mounds here, which will cause a ball, if it's landed about 256, to roll up and farther towards that birch tree, giving you that angle into the pin. The pin is on the left side of the green today. If the pin was on the right side of the green, you would likely want to be over here so that you could play up, get that tree out of the way, onto the right side of the green that's on that right side of that bunker that's in the front. So, but today we want to shot in at the green from likely the left side. One thing to note, there is a mound that runs through the center of the fairway, and if your ball lands on the right side of that mound, it will kick it right and likely into the water. So this is a bad shot right here. Right center fairway, not where you want to be. If you're going to play to that center part of the fairway, you want to lay up and play it back in more towards that 230 yards. Today, with our driver, we would be going for something up here. I think today with the driver, that's even too much club, that we're likely going to trickle towards the water. I'm going to take driver out of the bag. I'm going to put it up towards that bunker and hopefully end up still with a good angle into the pin and not be in trouble with the water. You can see that mound, how it kicks it down, but since we landed on the mound as opposed to on that slope of the mound, it just trickled down into a nice little spot here. Now we have a nice shot with the approach, green, even some rough behind us. A really good angle in. And we're going to take one club off and hopefully we can roll this up towards the pin. Whoa. No, we had too much club. Because of the angle we played the shot at, it was very interesting to see that we didn't end up in a bunker. Instead, we're just in the rough. past the green. If we would have played from anywhere else in the fairway, that shot there likely would have ended up in one of the bunkers beside or behind the green. Instead, we've got the option just to drop it up here on the rough and let it trickle up, and it's going to trickle to the right, so we can play this a little bit right of the pin and see if we can luck one out here. Oh, we just missed the pin, so we've got that left for our par. A little bit right to left. Oh, you're kidding me. What a terrible way to end this round of golf. We missed that little putt. We're going to try it again for our bogey. So there we go. So, and unfortunately that took us back to par. We could have had a -1 round. Interesting enough, I only played 6 pars out of 18 holes. I played 12 holes that were either birdies or bogeys, and at the end of the day I averaged them all out to come in with a 72. So that is the Island Springs Golf Resort, real golf course. Don't be afraid to design a real golf course on your first attempt, especially if you know the property. You can see what looks right, what doesn't look right, and learn to use the tools. I'm going to do a series of tutorials after this that will cover building a golf course, and we'll go through right from scratch and figure out how to do all these different things to make a golf course look the way you want it to do. So thank you for watching. Thank you to Island Springs for so many great years being the superintendent there and helping maintain and build that golf course. So sad to see it go, but I hope people that have never played the back nine but have played the front nine do find their way to this video and have a chance to see what that would have looked like. And who knows, maybe one day somebody will buy the property and we will have a chance to play it in real life. So take care, thanks for watching, and until the next video, have a good time.